Thank you very much. So, as you see, so we've been discussing all throughout the day the social justice. We have spoken to the youth leader, we have spoken to the role that media can play. You guys are the lawmakers, and are very influential in what you do. Um, Let me ask you, Ms. Dev, what role do you think as a lawmaker, you can do in terms of delivering social justice to masses? Because you represent India, not just one constituency. Yeah.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me. And let me start by saying that I have great regard for जनता का रिपोर्टर एंड
Thank you.
जो टॉपिक मुद्दा आपने चुना है वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है. Social justice, the framework for social justice was given by our forefathers by way of the constitution and the directive principles, and every lawmaker has to work within that framework. But I think after so many decades of independence, she's much senior to me, she'll be able to say that as a lawmaker we have to ask ourselves that we have always reached out to affirmative action for social justice, whether it's political, whether it's economic, or whether in any other aspect of life, whether we need to bolster that affirmative action by policies that actually create impetus in areas like education, health, etc. So as a lawmaker, I was briefly saying that as a policy maker, we can always put the law in place, and every law has a certain vision. But unless we keep going back to the ground realities to see whether they are working, that just simple policy definitely cannot ensure the kind of social justice that is envisaged in our constitution. So lawmaking is a very small part of social justice, but implementing it is the real challenge. And I think that's what, as policy makers, especially at the state level and at the level of local self-government and at the administrative level, one has to concentrate more on that than just policy making.
So in the previous panel, I mean, you touched a very pertinent point. In the previous panel, we were discussing the crime against women and why, so much crime keeps happening and nothing happens, from the law enforcing agencies to the judiciary. Somebody said that, if you want to uplift the status of women, we have to give them reservation. Do you agree with that assertion, that reservation alone, with kind of guarantee at least, social justice in one section of the society at least, which is women?
Nothing in isolation can work in a political system or in a society or in any arena of life. So reservation is a kind of a affirmative action. I prefer that word somehow, because the word reservation irks a lot of reactions in the public domain. So reservation actually injects that impetus into our thinking and social system, which we are unable to do as a society. But it's not enough, because empowerment is not just about having a percentage of that section which we perceive as underprivileged in the house, but is also allowing them to play an effective role in every level of policy making. But having said that, on 20th of September, Srimati Sonia Gandhi ji has written to Prime Minister Modi that he is in an excellent position with his majority in the Lok Sabha, and his own manifesto said he's committed to reservation. So he should pass the bill in Lok Sabha. Dada will be able to say that it languished for 14 years in more than that. So we are hoping that the reservation comes, because it is important. I don't undermine the power of affirmative action. But having said that, empowerment of women is a much larger issue, because there are more women outside parliament than there is inside parliament.
I think that's a good start. Salim sir, you have been representing, sort of Parliament for quite some time. Um, Parliament is where the laws are supposed to be made and enacted, and then those laws can be enforced later. Unfortunately, lately, the Parliament has become unfunctionable. People are protesting. I don't blame you individually, but that's been the sessions after sessions are getting washed out. Does that impact in your ability or in the government's ability to enact effective laws which can then guarantee the social justice for the masses?
Two aspects. First, I have to share the blame about Parliament functioning, but India is having a functioning Parliament and parliamentary system still. And secondly, the primary task of Parliament is legislative business, and we do legislate. Till now, successive government cannot blame that they wanted to pass a bill and they could not pass it because the Parliament is not cooperating. Be it the UPA government, be it the NDA government, the Congress government, the BJP government. Till the last session, whichever bill government wanted to bring in, they have brought and passed. I can name a list of bills like Women Reservation Bill, Lokpal Bill. There are bills pending which government don't intend to. They just introduce and keep it in abeyance, just to hoodwink the public. And it's a pet subject for media. I thought Janata Ka Reporter is an alternative media,
Correct.
but you're following the mainline media, that you just brush aside all others thing and saying that Parliament is not functioning. No, it's a systematic derogatory comments being issued by the power just to denigrate Parliament system. One. So I said, just to tell me any bill, I am there in Parliament since 1990, and successive government have seen. So no bill which government intends, frankly speaking, if Congress and BJP, two parties agree that we are going to pass a bill, it is passed. It is passed. But that's been, and the question is the agreement and disagreement depends on which side you are. The moment you are on the other side, you ask for that bill, and the moment you are in the government, you fail to pass it. That's another business.
Yeah.
Now, but the second part was the question you put in this malfunctioning Parliament. It's in part impairing our ability to function.
Yeah.
Of course, seriously, parliamentary system is handicapped now because successive government has failed to recognize the importance of, to be positive, of parliament system, or deliberately trying to just minimize the importance of parliament. It's not the parliament the same that was used to be in 1950s, 60s or 70s. And the representatives elected in parliament also, because if it is based on caste, religion, mandir, masjid, money, muscle power, cheat fund, then naturally the quality of parliamentarians also will be accordingly, because parliament is a representative body. So we represent the society, we represent the politics of the day. So if there is, garbage in politics, you will find some garbage in parliament also.
So, first of all, Salim Saab, thank you very much for your kind words for Janata Ka Reporter. But unlike mainstream media, we accept our mistake.
Thanks.
So, right, if the choice of word for unfunctionable was not to say it is not functioning, it is getting disrupted these days quite a lot. So, I think I take my, I can
in the television studios, more disruptions takes place, but still the television channels are continuing the discussion.
Yes, and 8th November is coming, right? And you guys are planning quite big things.
The whole economy is disrupted by Parliament.
You want to elaborate that point? That's quite an important point.
No, I'm saying that I think the common perception about Parliament not working is something that the media creates, because we have passed at least 60, 70 bills in the last 3 years. And it is a fact that Parliament has been disrupted by the opposition. But a basic principle of Parliament is that it's for the government to run the Parliament. It's not the opposition's responsibility. So it is a matter of bad communication. Their backstage management is poor, and I think some arrogance that leads to this stalling of Parliament repeatedly. So every time you see the Parliament disrupt, a lot of young people here, that please remember that when the Parliament is disrupted, it is a consequence of what the Treasury bench is failing to do. But the general perception is, oh, opposition is doing it, opposition is doing it. And this perception is created by the media. But I remember I'm a first-time parliamentarian. So when the Speaker of Lok Sabha called for a training, the first thing she started her speech with saying that uh, the, the opposition must have its say and the treasury bench must have its way because they have majority. So when you don't let us have our say, we are bound to make noise.
So at the local level, Ms. Bhattacharya, you have your own assembly functioning, but also with the advantage is that you're part of the government. So do you think that you have more responsibility in terms of, ensuring that the social justice is delivered to people cutting across religious lines, political affiliations, or even, the caste considerations?
Obviously, I'm in total agreement with what you are saying. We have the actual responsibility, the government has its responsibility, and the government is performing its responsibility. So far as the topic you have chosen today, lawmakers, what is their role in delivering social justice? In fact, all the laws which are flowing from the Constitution, they all aim at rendering and delivering social justice. Social justice means to all sections of the society, irrespective of sex, sects, creed, or caste. So the question is now whether, as Ms. Dev said right now, I also repeat at the cost of repetition, that whether this social justice is now reaching and achieving its goal for which the laws are framed. Now, it is for the lawmakers to also ensure, to also see that whatever laws are being made to render social justice, they are actually being implemented. So that is the question, whether they are being implemented. And it is equally true that not only affirmative laws, but there should be actions so that this affirmative laws, whatever aims they have, that is actually fulfilled. So that is the question there. And Muhammad Salim, Honorable MP, he has also stated that if the government wants, they can frame laws and they can get it passed, either in the legislature or in the parliament. Now, our government, under the leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister, the first thing she did is to pass a 50% reservation of Mahilas in panchayats, in the 3-tier panchayats. So it is the intention of the government. We could do it. There are disruptions. There are interruptions, disruptions, but one who is in power has to see that the disruptions are overcome and they do the needful to the society.
So, Salim Sahab, do you agree with her? Do you appreciate what Mamata Banerjee government did in terms of ensuring 50% reservation?
50% was already there before this government came.
Okay.
Secondly, I will not say just Mamata Banerjee. I don't have that opportunity to say this. I say Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal would be Doctorate Mamata Banerjee, and might be. And secondly, the question is, no, I'll just give you an example.
I just say, I don't know, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. I do not know when this 50% reservation was there, because the law, I think, has come in 2012. So how was it before that? I do not know. You kindly explain.
Let Salim Sahab explain. That's what he's explaining.
It was in fact practically more than 50%, because first 33% was introduced and first time in Bengal, as it was in the case of 18 years minimum age for electorate. And secondly, we introduced this women's 50%, and practically it was, when the last left front government was there, 53% of the elected representatives used to be women. One. But I'm not arguing into that. Maybe she's the legal law minister. Maybe I'll stand corrected. Okay, earlier she was. Secondly, what I intended to say is this. What the basic topic was that if the government intends to pass a bill, they can pass a bill. as you rightly pointed out, be it state or in the legislature or in the parliament. Secondly, but passing a bill, what I heard when I entered that, is not enough. Say, for example, when people were just asking for money to be returned by those who lost their money in cheat fund, immediately Chief Minister said several other measures, commission, and then a bill is going to be passed. Our governor didn't, finance minister went to the airport to get it signed, and bill is passed. But do you think that after passing the bill, this cheat fund menace is over? People got back their money. Those who were supposed to be punished, they are punished. I don't think so. It's just one example. In parliament, I can give more examples because I'm not in the state legislature. That only passing a bill or enactment is not going to deliver social justice. What she said. That.
Yeah.
Firstly, because it's an unequal society that we accept, and it's for 1,000 years. And then it is institutionalized. This inequality is institutionalized in caste system, in social system, in family system, in religious system. And in most of the cases, it is accepted norm. Secondly, when colonial rulers came, in economy also, earlier it was also inequal. They have institutionalized this, like permanent settlement system of land ownership, Jamindar, Cornwallis. So they have institutionalized even by destroying the handicrafts with the traditional skills. So that means those who have these avenues for earning, to have these cosmopolitan goods to be supplied in the market and sold in the market. So traditional economy of rural economy was destroyed deliberately. So more and more unequal situation was established. Now, after independence, we thought that the constitution, by passing a constitution framed by none other than Dr. Ambedkar, that, okay, social justice will prevail. So reservation will for a few years. Reservation is not a permanent solution. It's a recognition. And you have to, if you follow Ambedkarji, then you have to annihilate caste system. Gandhiji says that, okay, it can coexist. You can just, profession can be distributed, occupation can be distributed, but that is not going to help you. The question is, how do you annihilate that? Same thing on the gender justice also. Because it's in Bengali, I'll say, something is there in the rule book, something in the society, or Bangla bole mojjagato. Not only in blood, but in your grain. So it is there. So that is the problem.
So a lot of things, all three of you have, mentioned a word called disruption. You mentioned in terms of economy that, and perhaps, 8 November is coming and the way, that the whole parties are coming together, I'm sure it's going to be an eventful day next 8th November. But reality is that what happened on 8th of November and subsequent economic decisions taken by central government did disrupt not just the economy, but the whole social equation, right? How do we deal with that? Because you have been opposing it, all the opposition parties have been opposing it. Unfortunately, there is nobody from the government to represent them. But nonetheless, we can still talk that what happened on 8th of November, what happened in this July in terms of flawed GST rollout and all, it's impacting all of us, particularly, both individuals and the entrepreneurial class. As somebody who represents India's largest party, what role do you think for yourself in terms of making sure, that the relief is provided to the vast majority of the country?
When you look at the way social justice is defined in our fundamental documents, it does talk about economic equality also and economic empowerment also. If you want to really connect it to the declaration by the Prime Minister of India to ban the notes, what we say demonetization, per se, demonetization is a very well accepted policy. Both of my colleagues will agree here. But the way it's impacted economically backward people is their legitimate cash has been hit. And although financial inclusion was something that started with the efforts of Shri Pranab Mukherjee when he was the finance minister, and this government is carrying on with Jan Dhan Yojana. He was the finance minister. It started Swabhiman, if you know what it is, and then Jan Dhan carried on. But the fact is that financial inclusion in its entirety is a very distant dream. It's a huge challenge. Every government has taken it on. If you look at that reality of India, and if you agree to accept that there are underprivileged people in the sense of finance and economics, then demonetization was an anti-poor policy. And I think in this 1 year, it is beyond doubt, and it is now established that demonetization actually did not destroy the rich and the black money holders. It has actually destroyed economically backward people who have legitimate money, and I think it's a great disservice to the vision of our forefathers who spoke about social justice in terms of economy also.
There's another one that we are facing, and we would be facing in a couple of months' time, when they make it mandatory linking of Aadhaar to your, the bank, the mobile phone. Now that's a hugely dangerous thing. I have said it from the public platform. It's a huge attack on my right to privacy. Even after Supreme Court actually saying that right to privacy is your fundamental right, your Chief Minister has said that she will not link, right? I mean, is she serious, or does she not see the consequences?
No, no, whatever she speaks seriously, you have seen. And about demonetization, the first opposition which was made was from her end. She tweeted within half an hour or 40 minutes. So that is what is happening. And what she said on the 8th of November has come to be true. So everyone is now dissatisfied with the demonetization policy taken by the central government. Now, she has said, and very boldly she has said, that she won't be linking her mobile with Aadhaar card, whatever is the consequence.
She will lose her number then.
She will. She said, I don't want. If it is so, then I won't have it. But that will never take her to shift her stand.
No, Salim sir, that's a very important thing. I mean, that's a worry for everybody. I don't want to link, but then I have a worry that they might disband my bank account. They might deactivate my mobile number. How do we live with this?
You have seen how the girl died in Jharkhand because of lack of getting
Hunger,
radiation.
yes. Yes.
So now the whole concept when it was floated earlier about this, Aadhaar was not that. It's a UID, unique identity number. So you thought, okay, it's a single number. That will be enough for even identifying my address, my name, my degree, no fake degree, and then your income, your bank account, your mobile number, everything. PAN number is all included. That's okay. But now it's not like that. Now you have several numbers. And Aadhaar you are making compulsory, which is fundamentally opposed to our constitutional principles enshrined into it. And then what will happen to the data you are collecting? For a mobile phone, what happened in Notebandi even? Now you submit your Xerox copy of Aadhaar card. So all these black money holders, they employed certain people, and with those Xerox copies put in that counter was used to submit money, because bank initially said, you come at up to 2,000, 2,500, you can deposit with that. So that is a business. So entire Notebandi became a scam itself. It's not against black money or against corruption. It's another avenue for, and some people made money, huge money. Okay, everybody is not Jaisa, but many people got like that. Now the question is that my mobile number, or you say that it's a question of right and entitlement. So as a leftist, I always talk about right. So right is universal, everything. But what government is, this transformation is taking place, that you are converting this right into entitlement. Some people will be entitled to get, some people will not. So the fundamental fight is between the entitlement and right. We are for rights, and right is universal as a citizen, and you are trying to make it, some people will be entitled for this. Like Notebandi, you took out the cash, but those who are having this Paytm card, they manage to it. In this hotel, if I say mobile phone has to be deposited at the counter, but laptop is allowed. So that means the person who is not having laptop, he is deprived of communicating with others, but those people having laptop, they are easy to communicate. So you are creating an unequal society by segregating a section in between have lots and have nots.
Have you noticed that, very cleverly, without any expressions, you took a swipe on somebody's degree? You talked about, another thing that you mentioned about that. That's typical Salim Sahab. Demonetization, you also mentioned it. Gujarat election is happening. Your leader is very cleverly using, that issue and the GST. Just tell us what's happened to your leader. I mean, what is the reason behind this sudden turnaround? Suddenly, you're giving even Prime Minister Modi's sleepless nights in terms of their social media dominance.
But Prime Minister Modi doesn't sleep just 2 hours, so there's no question of giving him sleepless nights. But I just want to make a quick point about Aadhaar card, since we're talking about social justice. Is the idea behind Aadhaar card, and Salim Bhai will be able to say, that it was actually a way of empowering the poor, because we have a huge social spending budget, but the reality is that it doesn't reach the last mile. So Aadhaar was a way of ensuring that it ends pilferage and waste of resources, which is supposed to reach to the poor or the common man, the last mile delivery to him. But now Aadhaar, the entire purpose of Aadhaar has actually become counterproductive. So since we're talking about social justice, Aadhaar was actually a very important tool to ensure the social justice, to empower the poor and make sure that they get their share of government benefits. But now it is becoming about something totally different, which is sad. You asked me a question about Gujarat. There is no Gujarat model.
Yes.
There's nothing as a Gujarat
That
model.
even I agree as a journalist.
At
We
that
have
point, let me have just a couplet that was framed earlier. तलवार चाहे विधान की हो चाहे संविधान की हो, तलवार चाहे विधान की हो चाहे संविधान की हो, हमेशा नेक नियत लोग बनाते हैं, पर किसी न किसी बहाने वो बदनीयत लोगों के हाथों चला जाता है.
वेरी गुड.
शाबाश.
सलीम साहब शायर भी हैं, ये पता नहीं था.
I think what is important to understand about Gujarat elections, and I'll come to the question you asked about my leader, is that Gujarat model was a fairy tale of 2014, a fairy tale that was sold to the rest of India outside Gujarat, and people believed it. People believed it. There are two aspects to it. Gujarat has always had a history of being, I won't say totally developed, but it has always been seen as a more developed state than any other. I think all of us know that who've lived in India. And more enterprising. Yes. It's a port, it has a port, so it's a trade hub. But I think this Gujarat election, I've just spent 7 days there doing work for my organization. And I can tell you that when you ask the people of Gujarat, कि विकास को क्या हुआ, and when they say विकास पागल हो गया, I don't know what will happen in the elections, but it's something worth seeing. And one has to recall how Prime Minister Modi, that time he was a Prime Minister in waiting, sold that story, and how can those same people, within 3 years of him becoming a Prime Minister with a historical mandate in Gujarat, say विकास पागल हो गया. See, election has
really run for money now.
Yeah. So election, a lot of things happen, social engineering happens, ad campaigns happen, media campaigns happen. But I think what we need to take away from the Gujarat elections is how are the same people who are the beneficiaries of the Gujarat model saying Vikas pagal ho gaya. In between, they tried to change the slogan to pragati. So then the slogan started ki pragati bhaag gayi. You see, so that Vikas ke saath saath. So all this has been happening. Now I want to very briefly talk about my leader Rahul Gandhi ji, and I'm so happy that his name came up today in this show. And the reason I'm happy is he's a strong believer in social justice. And like in answering your past questions, I've tried to connect everything to social justice. Um, I would also like to say that having worked with him in the last 5 years, uh, please believe me that his vision of uh, how social justice should work in India, his vision of how a government should be right space, as in RIGHT, hak ki baat kar rahi hu, and how a government should work for the underprivileged. He's a visionary in those terms, and no one turns anybody around. No one turns anybody around. And even if something turns somebody around, it will never last. And Prime Minister Modi is an example of that, because a PR exercise can't make a leader. A PR exercise can't make a leader. It's what a leader believes in. And even if it takes time, it will emerge. Satyameva Jayate, and that's what Rahul Gandhi is about.
Thank you very much. Thank you. On that note, I think I agree. There is no substitute to substance. You know, the substance lasts forever. The propaganda, if anybody who indulges in, has a very short life. Thank you very much to all our guests, and thank you very much. We'll start our next panel very soon.